have an event, when you have an event, and they, what do you do when they don't supply you with a tent or something like that to herd all the athletes in between events? How do you run that kind of thing? So I don't know if anybody wants to talk about. I guess I could talk about what I do. I find it a real pain in the neck, one way or the other. If you kind of know going in, then you can handle it with all the athletes. The athletes lots of times prefer you not controlling them, but when it's their first time getting controlled into a tense situation or whatever, it can be quite a challenge. Anybody got any ideas on that?
Might depend on the level of meet you're playing with. And if
Yes,
you're doing a
exactly.
provincial meet, you may or may not want to play guardian for a few hours.
Yeah. I've just been to a couple of, it's more not, actually Legions is one of the meets I'm thinking of where the kids are coming in for the first time to be controlled. They have no experience in it whatsoever. And then they tell you they're going to do that and then they're not going to do it because they don't have a tent for you or whatever. Or they put the tent in the most inopportune space that you don't want to use it. I've run into that several times.
That sounded like Brandon.
And Brandon were nice.
So what did you do when you didn't have, you had a tent, but you didn't want the right location?
I had that happen to me in Manitoba once. They had them way off in the corner. It took almost 10 minutes to get the kids coming from A to B.
But we could ask the tent to be put on another place.
I've had that, yeah. Or you try and work, they tell me that I've been told, no, it has to stay there and then the kids won't use it. What kind of strategies does anybody have on that? I've been all over the place on it. Where I told the kids, it's only our meeting area. Go do something else. Any other thoughts?
Well, if you ask the question a week in advance, you might have a chance to make it move where you want, as opposed.
That's true.
It should be part of our routine of preparation before the competition is to ask these questions and make sure you have it somewhere where you want it. That's not always possible, but. No,
that's a good point. So keeping prepared well ahead of time, trying to find out where you might be stuck, or even if that's important protocol, it's going to be used or not.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been, Danielle, do you follow what happens? You've done some bigger meets, but you might also travel.
Yeah.
Is that an issue at other places?
Well, when you get to a high level competition, whether it's a NACAC, Pan Am, or higher than that, there always is a room somewhere and the protocol has to be followed. So because that becomes the room where people they have to go, and this is where you're going to check them in from the next event and give them their hip numbers. And so, yeah, at that level, it's usually something that is followed and up to a point strict, depending where you are. But when you get to our nationals, we did the Olympic selection in Montreal a month ago, and we were given a tent by the 1,500 meter start. And that was fine and dandy until it rained cats and dogs.
Oh.
So that was okay because the athletes went there and we picked them up there, and then but there's always, you know, I want to go to the bathroom. And so national competitions, we did follow a protocol to a point, but usually don't have the people to accompany them to the bathroom. So sometimes it becomes a nuisance because you don't always have a chance to control everything. They could leave and come back with a pair of shoes that you haven't seen. And you need, if you have a tent, if you have a location at that level of competition, you need to have staff, somebody
that and watching the stuff when they're not there. Yeah, that's the other problem I've run into. They'll say, oh yeah, you have the tent and all that, and then you start quizzing them down a little bit. Oh well, who's gonna be watching over the tent, or how secure is it? And then you find out you don't have help.
Yeah, well, that's why it's, if you ask the question way ahead of time, have time to put it in their package and put it in give a word to somebody who's going to be in charge of volunteers, and maybe have a chance to have someone who's going to spend time there, or have a better setup if you actually ask in advance. And like we ask in advance to say, yeah, there'll be a tent, will there be people? Yeah, there'll be volunteers, and there were never volunteers. So
yeah, exactly.
It turned out to be me there, and then so I want to go to the bathroom. Well, I couldn't just go with them, so I left them, and the guys usually stayed there. That wasn't a big issue, but because it's also tied up to the schedule. If you have a schedule that has big gaps between events, and that becomes cumbersome to keep them there for 4 hours. They want to do something else.
I don't blame them.
You know.
Exactly.
That was my question, how long can you keep them in one place before you give them leeway to go somewhere else when they have 3 or 4 hours in between?
Yeah. I was at Pan Am Juniors and we had a 4-hour dinner break.
Mm-hmm.
They got to leave.
Yeah. Well, we did the Pan Am in Toronto in 15, and there was a room, and then you have to control who gets in the room as coaches as well. And we had morning session and evening session. You don't keep them, like some of them stayed there, that they wanted to stay, and some of them wanted to go away. So when they came back, you checked the bags, it's becoming, a pain. But if you go to World Championship, they're serious about it. You can't leave. There are bathrooms there. They're 1 or 2 coaches are allowed, but the athletes don't go anywhere that's not supervised.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't have that manpower. Sorry, that people.
Danielle.
Yes.
At Moncton, how much help did you have with the when you had the room for the multi events there?
Oh, we had a couple of volunteers who were with us, and we had enough athletes to do 3 heats of everything on the track, like 20 some athletes. So these volunteers were with us, and they would leave with one group at a time. So that we had at least 3 of them all the time. So that was helping in terms of not all the athletes going out at the same time. And I was the one bringing their ear at the end. And then the door was closed and we had somebody there who was staying in a room. But that was World Juniors, that was at the higher level. I did Pan Am in Mexico in 11. The room was there, but there was no volunteers. So anybody could walk in and out. There was hard to get to that room. You had to know there was a room there, but again, there was no control.
Yeah, Brenda, when we did Legions, they seemed to be pretty happy to come back to the tent and leave their stuff there and hang out there in between most of the time. But yeah, they want to go to the washroom, and you're always looking for somebody.
Well, it helped that we were in a shady spot and it was hotter than Hades too.
Well, that would be my question. If you're in a tent and it's out in the middle of the bald prairie and the sun's beating down on you, do they really want to be in there?
No.
So
and in Montreal, we had a a roof, but no sides. So when it
Yeah.
started to rain, we just had to get out of there.
Yeah, I've had that issue too. And I think I was at a track meet one time and the tent flooded. That was in Calgary. Yeah. It was a good sized tent. And then they also made the beer half of the tent. The beer drinking was in one half of the tent. They gave us the other. So these are issues that, you know, you have to be fluid on, even if you, and I think Danielle's right. You try and find out who to talk to before the meet and find out, and you'll hear, oh yeah, I've had that happen. In fact, Brandon said, oh yeah, there's a tent. And then I questioned, well, how secure is it? Well, there'll be somebody there. And then you find out the day of, well, they haven't come yet.
Yeah.
We had to use them over there somewhere, you know.
And you also want to have water in the tank, in the tent. You may, if they're long breaks and you expect it to keep them there, and then you want to have some fruit with you. And so it's another story, is that they usually are forgotten, you know. Oh, we've got a tent for you. Can we have water? Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. So we had water in Montreal, and we had some, first day we had some fruit, I guess, at one time. But it also depends on the structure of the meet. If you do one of those that are it's almost a bang, 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 you go from one event to the next, you don't really need a tent.
No. And if the athletes are being fed by the track meet, which often happens at Legions, becomes an issue trying to get the food to your tent at the right time. So that's an issue you have to look into all the time. Oh, are they going to feed them, or are you going to let them go get food?
Yeah, and they want to bring their food, but they need a cool place to keep it as well. Some of them want to bring their own food supplies in.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I was there one time, and the parents were passing it over the fence, and I said, well, I haven't really checked that out. Food. And they kind of look at me and go, well, that really should have gone through athlete control.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest issue I've come across, you know, with doing combined events is, you know, when you start to get into the higher level ones, it's like, yeah, how controlled do you need to keep them? But I have, you know, Legions, and it's basically been the highest that I've done. Oh, and I think the Canadians here, I was working with Terry. And we had a room, one of the locker rooms inside the stadium, but you can't see nothing outside. You have no idea what's going on outside.
Yeah. Which was our problem in Moncton, is we had radios so we could find out, but you don't always have those. So you had no idea. You're on a schedule. You know what time your next event is on. You post it on the wall. You say, you know, in the World Championship, you don't use words. You just write things on the wall. Next start, you know, we leave at the 17:05 and wait, heat 1, heat 2, heat 3, and then you communicate like that, but you have no idea what's going on the track. So there are pluses and minuses. When we were in Moncton a couple of years later for the Nationals, we were closer. We were underneath the stadium, and but we still had no idea what was going on, but we were much closer to the door. In Moncton, that was like a 5-minute walk to get to the track.
If they're not near a washroom, that's a real pain too.
Yeah. The best setup is usually in a locker room, a football locker room, where they do have access to showers and bathroom, you know, with the room. And then you don't have to worry about them going away and say, well, I need to go to the bathroom. Can I get there? And it's there.
They're just one of the issues is usually them trying to get medical help in between. But that depends on how long your day is.
They need their massage and they need their...
Yeah.
Well, I've started combined events, you know, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still there at 11 o'clock at night.
I don't think I've had one that long.
It's been a while since I had one that long. I think there was a big rain delay in the middle of it all.
In 40 years, I have had some long days in there where, you know, if there's a tent and it's flooded, or there's a tent and there's no sides, or there's a delay, nobody wants to be there. They just want to know when they have to be back.
Yeah.
And you have to make accommodation for that when they're the weather is to play with it. And what do you do when they come back? Do you check their bags again? What is the protocol you have to put in place? Like if you had the national championship, it's going to be a little better control. But if you're a provincial meet, and Cecile could attest to that, we don't have a tent usually. The kids are walking from one event to the next. If the schedule is well built, it's fast. It's one after the other, not too bad. But if there's a gap, there's nothing you could do, but they go wherever they want.
And they fit a few other ones in between.
Sorry?
And they fit a few other events in between while they're at it.
I was just about to say, at provincial level, I'm usually, I got to go do my hurdle race, you know.
You already did that. Yeah. Yeah, some of them are doing long jump for the combined events, and then a long jump for the, you know, whatever their other strong event is, they might be doing that as well.
That even happened at Legions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it at the, what was it, the Alberta, what do we call it, Summer Games?
Alberta Summer Games.
Yeah, you see that. Yeah. You get that quite often at the Summer Games.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I actually had to do heats. A lot of heats and have 2 circles and all that stuff.
2 pole vault pits, 2 high jump pit, 2 long jump pits.
Yeah, I haven't had to do that for a while. I think it was when I saw you in Ottawa. Was the last time I had to do that.
Well, when you do have 20 some, you don't really have a choice to have 2 pits of everything. So, but that last one we did was 19, I guess. The last 2 or 3 that I did, there weren't that many to do 2 heats. Well, no, maybe 2 heats of stuff, but not 2 pits.
Right. What number do you think you would be looking at for 2 pits? I guess it depends on your venue, of course.
Depends on the abilities.
Right.
Depends on the timing. When we were at Pan Am in Toronto, there was only 12 guys in the decathlon, but we were told that we needed to, because of the scheduling, we needed to be out of there in an hour.
Ooh.
So we did 2 pits of 6, and it took 48 minutes. So I was one took 40, one took 48.
Wow.
Well, you put them by ability so that, you know, they start much higher on the other pit and they go much faster. The guy who would expect to be there longer is the first one to get out.
Yeah, because they're actually starting at the height they would want to. They start at the height they're starting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't had that for a while.
Well, we just did the provincial a couple of weeks back, and we had the funny thing is we had juniors and actually we call them under 20 now, I guess.
No.
Under 20 seniors, and we had masters.
We're having this weekend in Sherbrooke.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh yeah,
exactly that. Yes.
We really aren't having any. We had a twilight meets and that's it. That's all. We haven't really had any meets here. How about you guys? And
a couple of weeks back in Sherbrooke, there was 600 athletes for the weekend. That was funny. Back in the saddle quickly.
Wow.
And we did have a dozen at the decathlon. No, at heptathlon we had a dozen. The guys we had just 1 heat.
And that was just Quebecers? Maybe come from others?
Yes.
Well, there was a couple from Ontario who came.
But mainly Quebecers.
Yep.
Wow.
This weekend, it's just Quebecers because it's the combined events championship. Quebec.
Wow.
Are you seeing any women decathlon out east yet?
Pardon, what?
The women
Any
decathlon? No.
Event? No?
No, just men.
Have you?
No, I don't think we've had any. I know we had one who went to the state, one of our...
We had one girl train for it a few years back and went to the States and did a competition.
Yeah.
Just waiting for it to
But
become
that-
an Olympic event.
Are they talking about that at the world level?
Well, it's not in any of the world championship, but it's definitely an event.
It's in the rule book for years.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it
specs
has
are in the
been.
rule book, so.
It has been for a number of years, but it's you need, before it becomes an event, replacing a heptathlon, you have to have a mass participation, and we're not nowhere near that.
Because
But
it's not offered enough.
did they have mass participation in the heptathlon when they replaced the pentathlon?
There was a bit of a dip back in the late 70, before when they introduced the heptathlon, yeah.
Hmm.
But there's a difference between heptathlon and decathlon, because you get pole vault, you got
Yeah,
discus.
throwing in pole vault is a big major differential.
We have more women pole vaulters than we have guy pole vaulters in Alberta. Way more. We probably have 3 times as many women at an event than we have guys.
Pretty close. Well, I was in Calgary this weekend for the CalTAF meet. We had 4 or 5 guys and there was 13 girls.
So it's usually 2 to 3 times the amount.
Was that a age category or just the seniors?
On the guys, it was U8, U20 and senior. On the ladies, it was 18, 20 and senior.
I know some Saskatchewan athletes came to that meet. I was hearing about that.
Yeah, there was a couple from.
There's at least 3 clubs from Saskatchewan there.
And they were up for the one a couple of weeks ago.
Green and gold.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Oh, you guys have been way busier than we.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've now had with the Road to Tokyo version of the Calgary CalTAF meet in June. We've now had 2 full weekend meets in July, and we've got 2 more to go.
Oh, wow.
One in Edmonton, one in Calgary.
Yeah, each city's doing 2 of them.
We're sort of done for the season here. And they were
And that's why they're
highlight.
the Saskatoon and Regina ones are coming to Alberta.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Well, you guys have been way busier than us.
Well, it didn't start till
Last
the 9th
summer
of July.
End of June, there were a few. Yeah. So, and then it was like boom, just about every weekend.
Yeah, we have it every weekend, and we have many athletes at every meet. I think the athletes are happy to start competing again.
Wow. Hmm. Hmm.
So you're
Good.
everybody wearing masks out east or
Well, at first, yes, at the end of June, yes, but now the masks are forgotten.
So you're running the meets in Quebec totally the way they would normally be run?
It's not supposed to, but it's very
Okay.
hard to hold the people, you know. You tell them to wear masks when they walk somewhere around, but it's hard to control.
So I saw that was happening a bit in Calgary, where a few of the officials wore masks, some of the volunteers wore masks, some of the athletes wore masks. It was kind of hit and miss. The biggest difference was how they handled food for the officials and volunteers. They did
it's all
with
individual.
box lunches.
It's all individual boxes.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, when you have a twilight meet, they don't get fed.
Well, we have no twilights this year.
Although
You
I
hardly do a
like,
heptathlon or a decathlon at Twilight Meet too.
no, you don't do them. No, I
No.
didn't. All I did was horizontal jumps. That's it, period. Yeah. I couldn't tell you the last time I don't know. It quite possibly could have been Brandon was the last time I really did a combined events.
What year was that?
2018.
Yeah, with Mary. Mary and I did that.
Well, we did it the first year, and then the second year,
Mary was on
horizontal jumps.
horizontal.
Oh,
And you,
So that
who
would've
was
been
my partner the second year?
Bob, I think, or John Call.
Oh, John, right, right.
Yeah, we've done indoor combined events and the
The
last
calendar-
indoor season in 2020.
I think I did combined event or U Sport.
Yeah.
We had 3 meets that season. Irene did 1 meet. I think I did the other meet, and Mary did the biggest one.
Maybe the last one I did was with Irene.
And then we got shut down for COVID the week after.
We got locked down right after that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have a topic they'd like to talk about?
Have anybody done competitions with masters doing decathlon, heptathlon,
Yes.
or
Yes.
pentathlon master?
Pentathlon, yes.
Yeah, we have.
Pentathlon indoor, not outdoor.
No, outdoor. The masters do a pentathlon in one day,
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and we did that
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago in Sherbrooke. There was a
Well, they also do
pentathlon
the throws
and a
pentathlon
decathlon.
too.
Sorry.
And they
The
do,
masters also do one for throws.
do a weight, yes, a throws pentathlon.
But they do, when they decide to do a decathlon with the regular people, you still have to use their table. Well, the regular table adjusted by their table for reduction of time or increase of distance.
Yeah, there's a factor.
Yeah. And the factor is under study to change next year, in case you
Oh.
didn't know that.
Hmm.
For masters,
So there'll be
changing the age
a table
grading.
coming out.
Sorry?
A new
changing the
table?
age grading,
Yeah.
grading factors.
Apparently there's a lot more participants now. People are the boomers are getting older, and they have tables going all the way to 110
Wow.
in the new series.
Hmm.
So where do you find those tables?
Well, I don't know. I have a contact that he told me he's gonna tell me they are studying this year, and maybe next year they will use them, maybe not, but they're coming. If it's not next year, it'll be in 2023 because
But
they need
there's
to
a-
change.
We have a link to get those tables.
Yeah.
We have one of the master athletes. She a lot of times does it, and I think the computer system we have also does age grading.
Yeah, well, I created my own spreadsheet that I put the time in it. If you tell the program, if you tell the spreadsheet what age group you're in, it will find any other table and calculate the right score. And that's,
I found an app for my phone to do that.
Well, there you go.
You just tell it what age, what event, what sex, and so on, and then it uses the correct tables
Yeah.
for it.
Oh yeah. There was this athlete who in Sherbrooke, and he had his app on his phone, but I had mine on my laptop.
Mhm.
Is this a 2022? Because on the World Masters page, there is a proposed age grading tables that they're looking at.
Yeah.
It's the download. I'll put it up on the chat if I can find it.
Yeah, apparently they're serious about changing. I don't know how many years it's been since they have had that the current tables.
I think it's been a while because I don't think I've changed mine at all. Mine are still in paper form.
Yeah.
Still useful.
Yeah, they're actually, and lots of times you could use a paper because you don't have access to the internet. sometimes.
there is an Excel spreadsheet to actually calculate it.
Ah, I think I do have that somewhere in my links. Good to know.
It's on that page that I put up in the chat. So
Saskatchewan is
Irene.
supposed to have Canadian Masters this summer, but they canceled it. But I actually think we're getting it again next year.
well, we're still a go for
World Master Indoor.
Masters indoors in the spring.
Oh.
23.
23? Okay.
2023, Alberta gets that. Edmonton.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
supposed to be this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was originally supposed to have been this past March
this year. Yeah.
or April.
Hmm.
It's
So we
after
will-
around Easter time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ah,
Easter indoors?
Hmm?
Easter indoors?
The indoor worlds, yeah, for Masters.
oh, geez, you get snow in June in Edmonton, so you just
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing when I was looking at the list of events, realizing how many throws and stuff there were outdoors, first thing I told to Louise was they're going to need to get some warm clothes for the throws officials who have probably 4 days of competition outside, in addition to the throws that are done inside.
We could have really nice or really ugly.
Yeah.
If we're lucky, somewhere in between.
Let's hope it have the heat dome show up. Eh?
Hey, maybe we can go in one of those big tents that they have set up for training.
Hmm.
Oh, the dome.
Yeah, the dome.
Yeah.
We've done some of our javelin and that kind of stuff in the golf dome at indoor meets.
Nobody punctured a tent with a javelin.
I don't think they did hammer, but I think they did javelin and discus in the golf dome, because they play ball in the golf dome in Saskatchewan.
Except for doing the some of the throws out there.
Well, the
Except you don't have the cages all set up.
no.
Yeah, there was no cage. That's true. The cage in Regina got damaged in one of the big windstorms that came through this year.
Is that a portable?
No, it was, no, it wasn't portable.
And it got damaged
Yeah.
nonetheless.
Well, the winds were over 100 clicks.
Yeah, they probably hadn't dropped the netting though.
Quite
You
possible.
drop the netting, they can take way higher abuse from the weather.
Hmm. I just heard about it. Didn't see it.
Yeah.
They had it fixed by the time I saw it.
Well, there you go.
We had 2 trees blow over in our yard from the wind. One hit the house.
Any damage to your house?
Huh?
Any damage to your house?
Just the eavesdrop.
Okay, that's good.
Too bad.
Could have been a lot worse.
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
Well, our neighbor behind us, they've got a tree that basically covers their entire backyard. One main branch came down with a storm a few weeks,
A month or so ago.
Yeah. The branches covered most of their yard.
Fortunately, you went towards the back.
And didn't take out any of their fences or
Their house or anything.
no.
Does anybody else have any questions about some of the little things we run into as combined events refs?
I haven't done one for a year and a half. I'm racking my brain.
I know.
We need one after a meet.
Yes.
We need to write down all the little questions that come up during the meets, and then those are good discussions for.
Well,
Oh, that would be a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, if you're at a meet and you kind of come upon a few scenarios, write them down so we can talk about them.
What would you do if scenarios?
Okay. Are there any rule changes affecting, other than the ones that are for the individual competitions? Are there any specifically to combined events that have popped up?
None that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, the long jump was going to be the major one. Unless Athletics Canada decides, or National Officials Committee make a decision on what we do in Canada that might be different than the 90 degrees.
Well, and what have you guys heard any talk? Because we're just, well, we were on the jumps one and there was discussion of using cameras, but to determine the faults, but that's not going to be an easy scenario if it's pouring rain or things like that.
Not sure how secure that would be for in inclement weather, that's for sure, but I had looked into that. The basic system with the camera and the software is about 1,200 US, 11 or 1,200 US. And the software is, if it works the way they say, it actually, if you feed it the athlete order, and it will crop and name a file for each jump for each athlete. So, you know, somebody says, well, the third jump of this guy, well, you can actually go back and there's a file named third jump for that guy. And, you know, if you need to go back to review it. Sounds like a good thing.
You jump out of order, does that throw things off?
You probably have to adjust for it, I'm sure, because otherwise it wouldn't know.
No.
It's not going to know what Danielle's foot looks like compared to yours, so.
Yeah, you probably need to have an adjustment in case there's a protest and you have to do another jump, or somebody running out of order, or somebody not there, or whatever.
It's like using the little notebooks where they're manually entering the information. We did that to the guy looking after the triple jump, and he just had to move, be careful on his entry and skip the people and then go back, because we were doing people by in the first 3 rounds by their takeoff boards. So
has anybody seen a 90-degree putty board yet?
I got the impression from the jumps meeting that somebody had, but I haven't seen anything.
I'm just wondering.
I'm hoping that Wes from the U of A buys us the camera and stuff, because he was interested. And he has money usually has money in his budget for buying equipment. So
yeah, well, they're seriously looking to buy it for us as well, but I can see it totally changing once you go outdoors and you start running into other issues. Even wind can be an issue. It has to be really weighted down so it doesn't blow away on you and things like that.
Yeah, you could build a little housing around it, make sure that it's protected from.
Yeah,
I've seen a picture of that.
You can buy the little laptop tents to put the computer in, and and I'm sure there's rain housings you can put over the camera and all that stuff. So,
and then you got to find someone who can run it. who wants to.
Yeah. So one more body that you don't have currently that
There's
you'll
a
need.
body that's doing different stuff because you don't need anybody else watching the line. That
No.
person would then be just reviewing the image on the camera once it's processed it, and
They could record.
Well,
it.
Eric, I would disagree with you there because you don't want to have to go to the camera for anything that's obvious. So you should have somebody watching anyway and
Yeah,
reviewing
true.
only the cases that you need. And so you will need an extra body operating this camera and operating the software and making sure there are no errors in the name file and as you said in the
yeah, there's
out-of-order
definitely
stuff.
logistics to work out on how to use it. So
Yeah.
So you might only do it really for the more higher level meets because it's just gonna be too much of a pain in the neck.
I can see somebody like Wes, if he invests in that, he would definitely want to use it for the university meets.
Yes.
What he had done, he had at the last meet, he had a number of the field links and he had one of his students basically operating that. So I can see them doing something like that basically, okay, here they are and we've got an operator. So
Yeah, they're pretty tech savvy, those students.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got to get a bunch of those in our meets.
Yeah, the university has those. You just have to recruit them.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. Recruitment is and retention.
It's the retention. We can usually recruit the university ones, but they don't stay around very long.
When they see the days we go through, they just come back. They don't come back.
No, they stay while they're in university because they get credit for it.
Yeah, true.
And then they're gone.
The athletes who come and help for a whole day have a different appreciation for some of the officials being out there all day long.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think they need to do more of that.
Yeah. I remember yelling at, I was having trouble with a bunch of under 14 girls, midget girls long jump. They weren't listening to me. And then I finally said to them, I'm paying a babysitter to be here. You girls listen to me or I'm just going home. They listened to me after that. That was a while ago.
Yeah. But if you have a provincial meet with a decathlon or a heptathlon, there's a good chance that this unit is not going to be used. If you have two, or you would have to have, parallel runways or two, decathlons run on this runway and the regular under 18s running in the other one. Who do you think is going to use the camera? So chances are we're going to have to deal with somebody watching and questioning. And what would you be doing? Brenda, you've done a lot of horizontal jumps. So what do you do with an athlete who says, I didn't go over the line, but you saw over the line?
Yeah, I have a real hard time with this because I really liked when they changed the rule that said you had to make a mark in the plasticine, and it stopped all the arguments with me saying, there's the mark, Yep. And I really
but on the other hand, some of them are
back.
But on the other hand, some of them their toes are clearly over the line, and they're not making
no mark. Yeah.
No, but that's the rule. The rule is no mark, no foul.
Yeah.
But that
Damien, if you saw Damien Warner's thing in Goodsis, it was over. His foot was over, but it's still now a record. His long jump.
Well, I think I would have to see if anyone else saw that or see if anyone's got a video on it.
Yeah, exactly. So
the current rule is it's got to make a mark. So it's pretty straightforward.
One of the ways is to have two people watching.
That's what we did on the weekend in the triple jump, because we didn't have the ability to use plasticine boards because we weren't far enough out. We had a 7 and a 9 meter painted board, and the first insert was for 11.
It's been done like that in triple jump for a number of years, that we do 9 and 10, 11s, and you said 7 as well. So you
7.
5 if you have masters.
Exactly. So it's no different. However, it's going to be more frequent because we won't be able to do it for the long jump.
And we're going to go back to arguing with coaches saying that we're all screwed up.
Yeah. But at least if you have 2 people, it's like you got to have 2 people reading. You got to have 2 people recording. Now you're going to have 2 people seeing and agreeing.
That's what we did. I was on one side, Mahela was on the other, and we were both watching for the foot, and a couple were close, and we talked, and it worked. Nobody complained.
Well, what level of competition were you at?
Well, I'm hoping to get some of those 90-degree putting.
Under 18 to senior.
Okay. But you want to see the 90-degree, Brenda?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing a 90-degree putty board. Because, I don't know, it'll help.
Sure. It will help, but you could still be before the putty board.
And make a mark.
And rip part of it, and then that's going to be a fall. Even though if you had no putty board, you would not have a fall. But that's what the rule will be.
Drag your toe into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how high it's going to be, because I could see them make,
Oh, it's in the book.
The same height as the existing boards.
It's the same as it is now. It's just instead of going down to 45, it's staying at 90.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a tripping hazard.
It's fun to put plasticine on that too. Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's why we went to kindergarten in grade 1 to learn how to play plasticine.
Oh, with the hot weather. Oh.
And it'd be fun to keep it there too, eh? To keep it at 90 degrees. When it's warm.
So there's really there's no other issues. I think the long jump's going to be a learning curve for a bit of us. And I think you're right, Danielle, because I often get stuck on a crappy pit with my combined events athletes, because the good pit's being used by the regular long jumpers or whatever.
Yeah, they usually get the secondary ones.
I get stuck with a third high school provincials. They stuck us. Oh God, it was
in the back 40.
And I had to dig it up and get it ready because it wasn't anywhere near up to my standards.
Can I ask you a different question? A different
Sure.
event? Pole vault.
Yeah.
When it gets long, do you agree to give after an hour to give a run through to most people who haven't jumped yet?
I do.
We've done it at 45 minutes even.
Well, that's where I wanted to get to is the hour is we've
That's a U Sport rule.
That's what?
Yeah, the 45 minutes is.
That's university. That's their rule.
Ah, okay. Well, university have rules that nobody else wants.
That's where it first arose.
And it's not written in the rules anywhere. It's a courtesy. So I usually got to the point where I wait till they ask. If they ask, I usually give it to them.
Yeah.
Because it's not a written rule. It's just a courtesy.
Exactly.
I usually try to do it in a break where there's you're changing height. And so anybody else who's coming in and wants it, I just do it once.
That's it. Like in the last 2 events, we did it somewhere between 50 and 55 minutes because it was a change of height, and I wouldn't wait the hour just for sake of waiting an hour.
Sometimes you even get 2 distinct groups, and then it's easier to make that distinction.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'll run anyone who's coming through. I usually will tell them if they want it. Now's the time. I'm not going to do it after every, person. So usually there's 2 or 3 left. It's like you all go.
Go, yeah.
Yeah.
Now it says U Sport says you give them 2 minutes. How do
Oh,
you,
really?
do you guys notice that rule?
Give them
No,
2 minutes
No, I don't.
to do the run through.
Yeah.
They
So,
usually don't take that long anyway.
so would you give them 2 minutes? The question that comes up from some of the vertical jumps, would you give them 2 minutes each? Would you give them 2 minutes to, how would you handle that?
Well, what's the rule about their first jump? It's 1 minute.
Yeah.
I would give them a minute.
1 minute each.
1 minute each. Well, they usually don't take that, but yeah, no more.
that's we're talking about a regular pole vault, not a combined events pole vault.
Why
Yeah.
not? Why not both?
There's
Yeah.
no difference.
No.
Yes. Well, it's just the time doesn't change in combined events.
Yeah,
Right.
but the first event, the first time you
It's 1
you
minute.
jump, you'll give them a minute. So you give that
Yeah.
athlete a minute for the run through, and then next guy, if there are 2 or 3, they all get a minute, and they typically don't take that long. And then bar is raised, bar is put up, and then new height, and then you go.
And
It
you
might
only
be
give them
another half hour before they jump, maybe another hour.
and you only give them 1 run through per athlete, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have had the question asked once when the pole vault lasted over 2.5 hours, and one athlete wanted a second run through.
What did you do?
Well, it was like he entered at 1 hour and 55 minutes. So we agreed not to. Eventually, he had one in 1 hour, more or less 1 hour and 5 minutes, whatever the break was at, and he ran. There was no problem with him. But then do you do a second one if he's more than 1 hour, more than 2 hours? So that's a discussion you could have with the combined events, but that's also a discussion you could have with vertical, because that could happen when they have 15 athletes and only 1 pit, and then you start at 320 and then you go to 5 meters. You might run into that problem. I'm sure people have.
Well, yeah, like you could get, is there a logical place to have 2 groups if you figure that, yeah, it's going to be a long time after 1 hour before we get to these other guys?
See, I've
To
had
really predict that would be even better, but
Yeah, I haven't been at any meets big enough to run into that scenario.
I have had one meet in Sherbrooke, probably in the late 80s, where we had 4 hours and 20 minutes for 2 pole vault pits parallel. So the guys who had been warming up, the 5 meter guys had been warming up like anybody else. But back in those days, we didn't give a run through, and the guy entered the competition 3.5 hours after it started.
Do you allow them to warm up on the side if there's an adequate place?
Well, there were 2 parallel with a lower pit and a higher pit. There was no room for that. I mean, it was back in, as I said, in late 80s, but we just went on with the competition, which sparks all these questions of whether we should or shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've seen 3 hours in the last few years, but I really haven't seen anybody needing 2 run through lately.
We had a Canada West, and there were only like 4 or 5 athletes, maybe 6, and it went on forever because it was essentially one athlete did their event, and then they went out, then the next athlete. So I think there was only 2 heights where we had 2 jumpers. The whole time it was
Consecutive jumps.
whatever number was in it. It went on. You looked at it at the beginning thinking, oh yeah, you'll get done in that time. And then an hour and a half, 2 hours later, you're finally done that event. And it was horrible. It was terrible. It went on forever.
Canada Games on PEI in 2009, we had 12 guys, and it wasn't exactly the same scenario, but there were 2 guys who jumped 16 or 17 times, and the vast majority of the time was a third. He got him on the 3rd trial, and they frequently were, subsequent consecutive jumps, and then there would be the next guy coming in the next height, so you have again consecutive jumps. Oh, Mary, we talked about that after we talked in Edmonton in 15 about what is the definition of a consecutive jump.
Yeah.
Even if you change the height, this is a consecutive is a consecutive. If you were the one jumping, you're still the one jumping. That's consecutive, whether you change heights or not.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that one came up time and time again, that question.
And it's clear, it's easy. It's no argument on that. I mean, I've argued with Barclay Frost many times that he didn't think it was appropriate, but that's what a consecutive jump is. You were the last one to jump, you're the next one to jump. So in that competition in Canada Games, they were frequently the last guy jumping was the next guy on the next height. So he needed a little bit longer to recuperate from his last 3 attempts. Bang, bang. Oh, good. Fall. Oh, good. So it was a long event, and that caused a ripple effect because the regular pole vault started way later than expected, and they had to stop because of time. Like it was there was no lights in the stadium, so they had to stop the pole vault event.
Yeah, and actually with combined events, especially at the junior level, I've had guys that they didn't really know how to pole vault, and suddenly they do 10, 11 jumps in a row.
Yeah,
figured it out. Yeah. And the really good guys are sitting there 2 hours later, finally getting to jump.
Yeah. Well, we had a master in Sherbrooke a couple of weeks back who we put the bar as low as it got to 235 or something like that. And he had trained once with pole vault. So he did 9 or 10 jumps.
I know I've seen that a few times where some of them come in and they know nothing about it, and coach gives them a few tips.
Yeah.
They're ugly and they're all sorts of positions going over, but they end up making, and they're so proud of themselves, they get a number of jumps in.
Been there, done that. My first octathlon back in the 70s.
I had a kid asking me how to pole vault. I'm going, I gotta find somebody else to teach you how to do
That's that coach over there.
See, when I was in the 70s, my coach said, "You're doing octathlon." I was a juvenile, and he said the 2 events you don't have a discus and pole vault, so don't need to train for those. Yeah, right. There was pole vault.
Oh God!
I cleared the bar twice.
Did you get the discus in the sector?
Oh yeah, I got 1 discus in the sector, and I got because I did first one, I did a standing, and then the second time I went out on the outer sector, and I got a second good throw, which was actually slightly longer than the first. But I cleared the bar twice in pole vault, but then that was just like sideways and any other way that you could imagine. But that's what happened when you don't train. You don't expect to do it. But now people know. I mean, U18 is decathlon now. They have no excuse.
Oh, yeah. You must be our only decathlete here. And anybody else been combined events athlete?
No.
Just in throws, maybe?
Nope.
I did it 4 years, and then I got injured.
Well, maybe we should just end there. I guess I'll send out the survey. But I know that at first they were talking about these being monthly, but I think that's too many.
Well, especially when you're involved in like throws and jumps and combined events and referees and
well, and now we actually have meets we're going to and stuff.
Yeah, July and August are probably, there's so many people away, they're probably not the best months, or December, I would say.
I was I'm thinking 3 times a year at the very most. I'm thinking a couple of times a year even, unless something comes up that's special to our you can always send out little scenarios to the group, and we can have an email discussion kind of thing too going on.
Yeah.
If you had something happen and you wanted other people's take on it or something.
And Eric, I'd be happy to, if you could send me a link to the app you have on your phone for that Masters.
Oh, for the combined event scoring? Yeah.
for the Masters. I mean,
Well, it does everything.
I need that one too.
Men's, women's.
Oh yeah, you can send that to me too.
Okay, I'll send it to Brenda. You can send it out.
there
Yeah,
you go.
that's what.
There you go.
Well, you guys keep having fun this summer. I'm sort of done. I'm planning on painting my farmhouse with my month of August off.
Well, the problem is this is all falling during my holidays, the last meet, and then the next one conflicts with a work event. And
Yeah.
And you're off to Tokyo, are you, Danielle?
Yeah, I'm leaving Sunday. Actually, it's Sapporo because the walks and the marathon are moved up to Sapporo. Spend one night in Tokyo before I get there. I leave on Sunday, and you should see the protocol we have to follow.
Mm-hmm.
The playbook has 80 pages.
80.
well, you better go do
That's
your.
just COVID?
That's COVID related.
Oh, my Lord.
But you better start
Daily
reading.
test. Sorry, Mary.
You better start reading it.
Oh, I've already read it.
How
Some-
many
some
events do
reading.
you have?
Oh, we have 2 events. Three events rather. 3 events in 2 days.
How long are you there for?
I leave on the 1st, I arrive on the 2nd. I spend the night in Tokyo and leave for the 3rd for Sapporo, and I come back on the 7th.
Mm.
Basically a week of lots of traveling.
Lots of traveling, lots of testing, daily testing in the morning.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, lots of the, and the funny part is I leave Tokyo to go to Seoul, going east before I get back to Toronto. That was the only flight they could find.
You had to fly to Seoul before going to Toronto.
Yeah.
Yep.
So 2.5 hours in the wrong direction before I come back in the other direction.
Well, we do that all the time. They expect us to fly to Calgary to fly to Toronto.
Or Vancouver to come back to Edmonton when you're coming from, yeah.
Don't live in Saskatoon and expect to fly places.
Just open up a hatch and drop me via parachute in Edmonton.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
Okay, well, it was good to see you all.
Have a good,
yeah. So
Okay.
if we a good idea, Mary, if you find something at the track, you write it down on a notepad or something, and then bring it up to Brenda. Maybe that'll be a discussion we could have in the fall.
Yeah, I'm thinking more October, November, that kind of thing.
Just before the indoor season, November.
Mm-hmm. Does yours start in November? Ours is
Well-
like last week of November. It's called the Last Chance meet.
Yeah, it's at the
Oh,
end
I
of November,
see.
even December. Yeah.
We typically have a
Wildcats
couple
used to be
before
our-
Christmas, and then
In Edmonton.
first week of January, second week of January goes every weekend until March.
January's too busy a month. It's a no-no.
Yeah, true. So
Yeah,
maybe if we have any other discussion